Hey everybody, it's Smitty back with another video. Today we're going to go over my top 50 NBA fantasy players after week 8. In ESPN and Yahoo Fantasy head-to-head points leagues, there are 16 weeks and then playoff matchups. So after week 8, we are now over halfway down the fantasy basketball regular season, and now is a great time to go over the most valuable players moving forward in order for you guys to have an edge in your leagues. Keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and none of these takes are facts. I may be proven wrong by the end of the season, or I may hit the bullseye on every take. We'll have to see. But if you disagree with any of my rankings, make sure to let me know respectfully in the comments. I love to see your guys' takes and perspectives. But before we get into this video, it would be awesome if you could check to see if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. It's 100% free, takes 1 second to do, and it really helps my channel grow. According to YouTube statistics, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, so every one of you is much appreciated. Also, if you happen to enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like, as it'll let me know if y'all want more content like this. Thank you guys so much for the support. Enjoy, y'all! Keep in mind that all of the players on this list are being ranked from what they can do now until the end of the season. Whatever a player has done previous to week 9 doesn't really matter too much in the rankings unless they can sustain that level of play. Throughout the year, all these players are going to be fluctuating throughout the lists, but at the end of the day, this is the list that I think will be the most correct. I'll probably be wrong on many of the takes, but my goal is to be as accurate as possible. I only have a few hot takes throughout here. I feel like many of these are just pretty typical takes by most people. But yeah, I've just condensed it into a 50 players list. And in this list, I'm going to be stating what rank they're at on week 8, what rank I'll think they'll be by the end of the season, and my projected points for that player at the end of the season. Coming in at number 50, I have Jrue Holiday. This may be a surprise to many of y'all, since Jrue is sitting at number 29 in fantasy points at the moment. I think that would be sustainable, but the thing is Jrue is injured at the moment. Honestly, if Jrue wasn't injured, he'd definitely be a top 30 guy, but being sidelined for up to 3 weeks, that translates to 400 or 500 missed points, and he's definitely going to slide down the rankings, probably past number 50, and it's going to be a slow climb back. I think Jrue Holiday has a projected 2,750 points by the end of the season. At 49, I have Miles Turner. Turner's had a huge start with the Indiana Pacers. He's leading the league in blocks by a landslide, and he's honestly had a very low turnover rate, which is quite surprising. I think that Miles Turner's blocks will go down a bit. I actually believe he will probably end the season leading the league in blocks, but just not with the landslide that he has right now. Also, I think the turnover ratio will definitely rise for him. So for those reasons, even though he's at number 31 in points right now, I think he's going to slide down the rankings, and I project him to have 2,750 points when it's all said and done. At 48, I have Christian Wood. Christian Wood is one of the highest production players in the NBA, but unfortunately, he has a very serious injury at the moment, and he's probably going to be sidelined for up to 5 weeks. That translates to probably well over 1,000 fantasy points being missed, and that really sucks for any league manager with Christian Wood on their squad. But yeah, I feel like Christian Wood has a projected 2,450 points. At 47, there's Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis has been sidelined pretty much the entire season so far, but I think he's going to have a bounce back. I put undefined as his week 8 rankings because he's well below number 50. Honestly, it took me a while to even find him on the overall rankings, but I project that he'll have around 2,350 points, which is a lot considering he hasn't played barely any games at all. At number 46, I have Malcolm Brogdon. This may seem like a surprise to many of y'all since Malcolm Brogdon's had a huge start on the Pacers, but I just don't think it's sustainable. Maybe if you had him at around 40, I could still probably respect that take, but I do like the guy. I just don't think he can keep these numbers going. It's mainly because of his shooting percentages. I just don't think that's sustainable with the production that he has. I project him to have around 3,000 overall points by the end of the season. At 45, I have Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of the best players in the NBA, don't get me wrong, but lots of his stuff he doesn't even show up on the stat sheet, and that's what translates to fantasy points. Chris Paul's actually at number 34 right now in the rankings, but I think he's going to be sliding, especially as Devin Booker starts being himself and starts taking away some touches from CP3. I project CP3 to have around 2,850 points by the end of the season. In the same boat, I have Kyle Lowry at number 44. Very similar situation. Pascal Siakam's coming up through the ranks. And for those reasons, you could definitely intertwine these two guys. I project Kyle Lowry to have 2,800 points by the end of the season. At 43, I have Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant has had a huge start for the Pistons. It's honestly probably the biggest surprise out of any player so far this season. Right now he's at number 18 in fantasy points. His production rate, probably the highest in the league, honestly, considering that the Pistons pretty much have no one else on their squad. But I don't think his shooting percentages are sustainable. His defensive numbers may be sustainable, but I think he's definitely going to slide down the rankings throughout the season. I have him at 43 and a projected 3,100 points. At number 42, I have Tobias Harris. Pretty much similar to what he's already at. He's already at number 41. Not much to be said there. At number 41, I have Gordon Hayward. This is a pretty big slide. Honestly, I think Gordon's going to continue to do what he does, just tiny bit less efficient. And in fantasy, a little bit less efficient drops you down a lot. He's number 19 in points right now. I believe that the Hornets have played a lot of games so far. I believe like 27 so far, and that's more than league average. So I don't think he's going to be having too many more points for the future compared to other guys. But yeah, I project him to have 3,100 points by the end of the season. At number 40, I have De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron is currently sitting at number 26 in the rankings, but I think he's going to slide a little bit. He has been heating up lately, but I feel like a lot more guys are going to be surpassing him. There's lots of guys that have been injured and are coming back, and if you aren't really progressing, you're going to be sliding down the rankings. And even though De'Aaron may have a short hot streak right now, I don't think he's going to be sustainable long term. He's still a great pickup. At number 40, he's still one of the top fantasy players. I project him to have 3,150 points by the end. At 39, I have DeMar DeRozan. Kind of in a similar scenario to De'Aaron, he's had a pretty hot start. DeRozan's actually a very consistent fantasy player considering he shoots mid-ranges. He's at number 33 in the rankings right now. I don't think he's really going to change, probably sit around the 37 points per contest, but if you aren't really progressing, you're going to be sliding down the rankings, especially this year. So I project DeMar to have 3,200 points by the end. At number 38, there's Rudy Gobert. Gobert is currently at number 24, and honestly, I think he's going to slide down the rankings due to Donovan Mitchell heating up. And you may say, like, hey, Smitty, that's a horrible take because if Donovan Mitchell's playing good, Rudy's just going to play off him, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be more like the bubble Donovan Mitchell where he's taking more ISO plays, and I don't think Rudy's going to be capitalizing on assists. And for those reasons, if his scoring totals drop, his points are going to drop as well. So I project Rudy to end the season with 3,300 points. At number 37, I have Andre Drummond. Drummond, very similar position to Rudy Gobert. Isn't much of a scorer, but man, this dude can get rebounds. And right now he's sitting at 30 in points. I have him at 37, and that's not because I think his production is going to go down that much, but simply because other guys are coming up through the ranks. Also, if Andre Drummond does get traded to the Brooklyn Nets or another contender, he can pretty much drop out of all of these rankings because right now he's basically stat hunting on the Cavaliers. He's still a valuable player in the NBA, but without the rebounds, he's not that valuable in fantasy. I have him projected at 3,300 points if he doesn't get traded. At number 36, I have Jamal Murray. This is probably one of the biggest hot takes on this entire list. Currently, Jamal's at number 66 in points, but Jamal's a very streaky player. I think we all know this. We saw him in the bubble. Him and Jokic played great. Jokic is still playing great. He's number one. Spoiler alert. But Jamal Murray, I think, can play off Jokic great. His shooting percentages have been horrific, and that's why he's at 66. He's been getting a decent amount of assists. If he can just get his shooting percentage up, man, he's just going to soar up in the rankings. And that's why I have him at 36. There's even potential for him to be higher if you're considering now to the end of the season. But Yeah, I'm really high on Jamal Murray right now. I project him to end the season with 2,950 points. At number 35 on the list, I have Zion Williamson. Zion's a pretty tricky player to rank because you have to consider the injury factor. Zion is probably the most likely to get injured out of any other NBA player. So in my rankings, I kind of consider that. But at the end of the day, none of these rankings consider huge injuries unless they're already injured. So Zion, if he gets a huge injury, he could definitely slip down to around 50 or even worse, depending on how severe it is. But if he just stays to non-severe injuries, he's one of the highest production players in the NBA. So when he is healthy, he's a monster in fantasy. That's why I have him at 35 right now. After week 8, he's at number 32. So yeah, I project him to have around 3,000 points by the end. At number 34, I have Ja Morant. Ja has had a pretty bad start. He's been out a lot of the time. That's why I have him as undefined. He's way past number 70 at the moment, but I think he's going to bounce back. We all know who Ja is last season. I think he's going to come back to that similar form, if not better. I project him to end the season with 2,550. At 33, I have Devin Booker. Devin Booker is very hard to rank, but I am very high on him, similar to I am on Jamal Murray. Devin Booker is a little bit of a streaky player, maybe not as much as Jamal, but he's been struggling. He's starting to get his groove back in. But the thing is, Devin Booker can drop 30 to 40 points, but still be under what he scored in fantasy points. It's ridiculous. But if Devin Booker can keep his assist numbers up, man, he could really be one of the top players. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being top 20 from now to the end of the season, but he really has to keep those assist numbers up and improve on his shooting percentages. I project him to have 2,800 points by the end. At number 32, we have a pretty big surprise here, and that's Fred VanVleet. I love Fred VanVleet. As y'all know, I'm a huge Raptors fan. They're my favorite team. I love Fred VanVleet. I'm actually going to buy a jersey, but regardless, Fred VanVleet is number 7 on the rankings, and as much as I love the guy, he's just not sustainable at this shooting percentage. It's ridiculous what he's doing right now. He had like 105 fantasy points a week ago or so, and that's just ridiculous. I think it's the highest performing night out of anyone so far. But yeah, I just don't think Fred VanVleet is sustainable. As Pascal Siakam's coming up, as I said with Kyle Lowry, he's going to be taking touches away from everyone. So yeah, right now I have Fred VanVleet at a projected 3,550 points by the end. At number 31, I have another surprise, Julius Randle. Julius Randle is one of the highest production players in the NBA, being that he's the best player on the Knicks, and by a long shot, but I just don't think his shooting percentages are sustainable. Like, his effective field goal percentage is really high, and if that drops, his production value will drop as well. I know the Knicks, they'll be attempting to put Obi Toppin in there if Julius Randle's not performing, so he could even slide farther than this, but at the same time, he could stay where he's at. I wouldn't be surprised with that either. He's a pretty volatile player. But yeah, I project him to have 3,550 points by the end. And at number 30, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai is another one of those high production players like Julius Randle, considering that he's on OKC. Shai is a great scorer. He's a great leader on the Thunder. Right now he's at number 39 in points, but I definitely project that he will have 3,200 points by the end and shoot up to number 30. At number 29, I have Donovan Mitchell. As I was talking with Rudy, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to blow up. He has been picking it up a lot. Unironically, right after Shaq was talking about him, I don't know if that affected anything, but yeah, Don is a beast. He's going to get buckets no matter what. Right now he's at number 40, but that was with all of his huge struggles. He's definitely going to climb up. I have him at number 29 with 3,200 points by the end of it. At number 28, I have Brandon Ingram. Surprisingly, Brandon is at number 21 on the rankings right now, and I really don't think he's going to drop in points, but there's just other guys coming up the ranks. That's why he's dropped. I have him at a projected 3,300 points. At number 27, we have Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton has had a great start so far. He's at number 16, and I really don't think he's going to slip either. Chris is a very steady player, Sometimes he has shooting woes, but throughout the entire course of the season, he's going to continue to be Chris. Um, Considering that he's playing beside Giannis, his shooting percentages are always going to be super high. And yeah, so I feel like he is going to slide to number 27, finish the season with around 3,300 points. But I do think Chris is a very consistent player. And it's just that other guys are climbing up the rankings. That's the only reason why he's dropping. And that's the case with most players on this list. At number 26, I have Bam Adebayo. Currently, Bam's at number 22. I think he's going to keep the same production value. I'm going to have to keep repeating this for most of these players, but there's just some other guys that are moving up in the rankings, in my opinion. I think Bam will continue to be a 41-plus point per game guy in fantasy. But yeah, I project Bam to have around 3,300 points as well. And at number 25, I have Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is at number 27 right now in the rankings. I think Ben could be a diamond in the rough. Not saying 27's bad or anything. I have him at number 25 on my list, and that's with a lot of players moving up. I think Ben's production is going to keep going up. Honestly, there is a small chance that Ben Simmons could end up averaging 44 plus per game. I feel like that is a little bit unlikely. I feel like he'll stay at where he's at, maybe 1 or 2 more points per game, but Ben can get rebounds, he can get assists, and if he can just get his scoring up and be more aggressive on offense, man, this dude could rack up a lot of fantasy points for any manager. And yeah, I feel like Ben Simmons is going to end the season with 3,300 points. At number 24, I have Jimmy Butler. Jimmy had been sidelined for a lot of the start of the season. That's why I have him projected at 3,000, but still at number 24. Jimmy's starting to get back into the groove. We all know who he is. Lots of stuff he does doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but he's just such a good player that no matter what league you're in, he's going to be one of the top guys. At number 23, I have Kyrie Irving. Kyrie's currently at number 35. I believe that's because he's sat a lot. He's one of the highest averages in the league. I feel like his average will go down, maybe to around 46. I feel like Kyrie's going to be one of the main guys sacrificing, but number 35 is just not acceptable, so that's why I have him at number 23. We all know what Kyrie can do. He's a great scorer, but I do think he'll be the main guy sacrificing on the Nets in the future. We all know Harden can sacrifice and still get points by using assists, rebounds, but Kyrie's not that great at stat filling in regards to guys like James Harden. So I feel like if Kevin Durant's going to be getting more shots, Kyrie's going to be the guy sacrificing, as James Harden's already sacrificed and still has remained one of the top fantasy players. I project Kyrie to end the season with 3,200 points. At number 22, I have Pascal Siakam. This may seem like a surprise to many of y'all, considering that Pascal's at number 37 and has just been really bad so far for the Raptors, but Pascal has such a high outlook. This guy can get you points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. He can literally get you anything across the board. If he can just start to be more aggressive, stick to what he knows. I already stated this in my Raptors video that I just made. Pascal's going to be great for the rest of the season. I can almost 100% bet on it. I have him at number 22 with a projected 3,200 points. At number 21, I have Russell Westbrook. It says undefined because Russ has missed a lot of this season. But yeah, Russ, we all know what Russ can do in fantasy. At one point, he was probably the best fantasy player. We all know he's a great stat filler, gets great points, great rebounds, great assists, gets a decent amount of steals too, and he has a decent amount of blocks considering he's a guard. I have him projected at 3,000 points. He has been struggling a little bit recently, but if Bradley Beal's production goes down a bit, Russ's is just going to rise. But yeah, I feel like Russ is a very good take right now. You might want to buy him now, trade for him now, because he's going to keep rising. He's undefined right now, but I have him at number 21. At number 20, I have Jaylen Brown. Jaylen's at number 25 in points right now, but let's be honest. This dude is a star. He's coming into his own this year. It's ridiculous. At one point, he was just as good as Jason Tatum. I think he's still not too far off of his teammate, but Jaylen Brown is that dude. I have him projected at number 20 with a projected 3,400 points. At number 19, I have Zach LaVine. It may seem like I'm hating on LaVine. I have him in the thumbnail. I really am not. Zach LaVine is an awesome player. It's just he's doing such great things now I don't think he can keep up with that pace. Not saying he won't be one of the top scorers in the league. He probably will, but I think that his efficiency is going to drop a little bit. I can see him averaging probably 26 points per game throughout the whole course of the season. He's still such a great fantasy player and such a great player in the NBA. I hope he makes the All-Star game, but I don't think he can stay at number 10 in the rankings. That's why I have him at 19 with a projected 3,700 points. At number 18, I have Domantas Sabonis. He's in a very similar position to Zach LaVine. He's at number 9 in the rankings right now, but it's just not sustainable. Even for a guy like Sabonis and LaVine, who they have high production rates, because they're on teams that rely on them so much, it still isn't sustainable as these other guys are coming in. There's no way that these two guys can continue to be in the top 10, but they're still very great fantasy options. Sabonis is a legit all-star. We've seen what he can do on the Pacers. He can get you points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, the whole gist of it. Domantas Sabonis is still one of the best fantasy players. I project him to have 3,750 points. I think he'll slide down the rankings a little bit. At number 17, I have Paul George. PG is currently at 36. He is out at the moment, but it's very temporary. I think that the injury won't really affect anything from week 9 on, but Paul George has really shown everyone who he is this year. I believe it was 2 seasons ago he was third in MVP voting. Paul George is legit. I wouldn't say he's an MVP candidate this year, considering he's with Kawhi, but if he was on his own team, he might be a legit MVP candidate. As I said earlier, he's number 36 on the rankings, but he's obviously going to rise. Paul George has missed a lot of games, but I think Paul George is one of the highest efficiency guys in the league right now. He can score. He can get a decent amount of rebounds. He low-key gets a decent amount of assists, and he's a great defender. He can get you steals and blocks consistently. I have Paul George at a projected 3,400 points, and I think that's pretty fair. At number 16, I have Trae Young. Currently, Trae Young's at number 23. He's been a huge disappointment to start the season. He's starting to pick things back up. We all know what Trae can do. Arguably the second best shooter in the league. I'm not going to do Dame dirty. I'd say that Trae Young's probably the third best shooter in the league, but regardless, Trae Young can get you tons of points. The only problem is that he's kind of similar to Devin Booker, where he can drop 30 points in a game, but the fantasy points won't translate some nights. He has to keep his assists up in order to be a valuable fantasy player. I think he can do that. That's why I have him at 16 and a projected 3,600 points. At number 15, I have Jason Tatum. Tatum right now is at number 42. He's one of the biggest risers on my list, but it's what's expected. Jason Tatum is honestly one of the best players in the NBA. You could even argue he's top 10 in real life, but I wouldn't make that argument, but I wouldn't be mad at anyone who does. Jason Tatum can get you points. We all know that. Can get you rebounds. He's actually been passing the ball really good lately. He can get you some assists. He can get you some blocks. He can get you some steals. He's very efficient. Jason Tatum is the highest production player on the Celtics, and I have him projected at 3,400 points by the end of the season. Obviously, he was sidelined for a lot of the season so far, but he's going to turn it around. I have high hopes for Jason Tatum. At 14, I have Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic is currently at 6th out of every single fantasy player. It's ridiculous. He's such a good player. He's a legit all-star, but I just don't think it's quite sustainable. He's one of the highest production players in the league. The Magic rely on him heavily for literally everything. He's going to be getting points. He's going to be getting rebounds, but he's not going to be getting assists. And for that reason, I have him dropping down the standings a bit. Not because Vucevic is going to be dropping drastically. It's just other guys are going to be rising. And I feel like Vucevic will maybe maintain where he's at. And that's not enough to be at number 6. That's why I have him at 14, with a projected 3,850 points. At number 13, I have Bradley Beal. Beal has had a huge start to the season. Right now he's at number 17, but that's due to him missing some games. If he didn't miss that many games, he would definitely be in the top 10. I think his production may actually drop, but his efficiency may rise. It's due to the Wizards relying on him so much to score, but as Russ is starting to hit those 3 balls, I feel like Brad is going to get less takes, but higher efficiency because of it. That's why I have him at number 13. It kind of balances each other out. I project that he'll have 3,700 points by the end. At number 12, I have Joel Embiid. Embiid is honestly might be the top MVP candidate so far, at least top three. He's been a beast. The only problem with Embiid, though, is he does miss a lot of games, even if he's not injured. Lots of times he'll take rest days, and that's not great for fantasy. That's why he's typically not very high in the rankings. He's at number 15 right now. I actually have him at 12 because I think that he's going to keep it up. And I think near the end of the season, Philadelphia may be trying to push for that top or second top seed in the East. So I feel like he's going to be playing a lot of games to try to get that goal for the 76ers. I project him to have 3,750 points by the end. And at number 11, I have Kevin Durant. Right now, KD is at number 28, but that's with all of these injuries and the COVID protocols. It's ridiculous. But yeah, KD is another one of those insane MVP candidates. He's been balling. His efficiency is actually unreal. His production is unreal. He can get you points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, anything. He's also beside James Harden, and James Harden is taking that sacrifice on taking shots. And I feel like KD is going to be getting even more shots in the future due to Kyrie maybe not getting as many. But yeah, I project Kevin Durant to have around 3,650 points by the end of it. At number 10, I have Anthony Davis. Going into the fantasy season, I believe AD was projected 4th, and that was pretty optimistic. Right now, Anthony Davis is at number 20 in the Week 8 rankings in terms of overall points, but I have him at number 10 because I think he's going to pick it up. Maybe not be a top 4 player, that's why I have him at 10, but he's definitely going to pick it up from now. I believe he's at around 45 points per game, if I'm not wrong, at the moment, but he could definitely easily get up to 50. He's a ridiculous player in fantasy because if he can drop like 25, 26 points, along with his blocks, his steals, his rebounds, and even his assists, Anthony Davis is just insane when everything's rolling. I project him to have 3,800 points by the end of it. If you're worried about him, hold him. He's going to be good. Trust me. At number 9, we have Kawhi Leonard. Right now, Kawhi's at number 12 on the Week 8 rankings in terms of overall points, but I have him at 9 because Kawhi Leonard has stopped load managing. This is huge because if Kawhi was load managing, he would be probably 25th. But if Kawhi's playing in almost every game, man, he can get you points, rebounds, not assists that much, but he can also get you blocks and steals. And he is very efficient. He sticks to the fundamentals, doesn't do many risky stuff, has low turnover rates. That's why I have him at number 9 with a projected 3,900 points. At number 8, we have a pretty tricky guy to rank, but I put him where I thought, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. Towns is in a very sticky situation. I feel so bad for the guy. He's been through a lot. I really hope he can turn it around. He's undefined because he's had COVID. He's missed almost the entire season. I believe he's only played in 4 or 5 games, but his mom died of COVID last year. He got COVID. It's such a bad situation. I really hope Karl Anthony Towns can pull it together. I believe on him. He had like 51 fantasy points on one hand and one leg. So imagine with 2 arms and 2 legs. It's just ridiculous. This dude could end up being a top 3 player from now to the end of the season. I'm not 100% convinced though. Definitely a top 10 player. That's why I have him at 8. And I project him to end the season with 3,000 points. At number 7, we have Damian Lillard. Right now, Dame's at number 8. CJ's out. I think that Dame is going to continue to be good. Dame actually gets better when CJ is on the floor, which is kind of surprising, considering that his production you think could go down. But no, Dame still continues to get the same amount of shots when CJ's there, plus more assists. So as soon as CJ comes back, I feel like Dame's dropping down the rankings a little bit, but as soon as CJ comes back, he's definitely going to keep rising. That's why I have him at 7. I don't think that's a ridiculous take. I have him projected at 4,100 points. At number 6, I have James Harden. This may be a hot take. I don't think it is, though. I think it's a very reasonable take. James Harden's at number 11 right now, but we all know what he can do. Like, James Harden will play in almost every single game, and as he's getting into game-level shape, he's just going to continue to get better. He has sacrificed on the offensive end scoring-wise, but his assist totals, I believe he's leading the league in assists. This dude is ridiculous at getting fantasy points, and he's going to be grabbing a lot of rebounds, especially if the Nets don't get a consistent big man. If they keep DeAndre Jordan, Harden's going to continue to have assists and rebounds, and that will just continue to boost his projected points. I have him projected at around 4,050 points by the end of the season, and I think he'll probably maintain his average of 52 points per game. The Nets have missed a lot of games, I believe, but as soon as they start playing some more games, he's just going to continue to get more points, especially James Harden's missed games because he was on Houston. They missed games. He got traded to the Nets after they'd played a bunch. He missed a lot of games, so James Harden didn't really have a 72-game window, but he'll probably end up playing in around 62 games, and that's not due to him missing games, but simply because he got traded from the Rockets, which didn't play many games. But yeah, James Harden's that dude. I have him at number 6. At number 5, I have LeBron James. You could definitely intertwine him with my number 4 guy, which we'll get into, but LeBron has definitely surprised a lot of people. Right now he's at number 4 after week 8, going into week 9. And yeah, I project LeBron to have 4,150 points if he doesn't get injured. He's getting up in age. He doesn't really have a track record of getting injuries, but you never know. He's in uncharted territories. A guy that old with that production level, he can never be 100% certain, but I am a huge LeBron guy. But yeah, I have him at number 5. At number 4, I have Steph Curry. Right now he's at number 3. He's definitely interchangeable with LeBron. I think Curry has a higher production value, but he also doesn't have the same rebounding and assist stats that LeBron does. But yeah, Curry, he's just inspirational, man. You gotta love Steph Curry. He can pull it from anywhere. His percentages have been off the charts this year. Production off the charts. He's the guy on Golden State, and he's willing them into a playoff spot. Watch out for Steph Curry. He's going to be one of the best fantasy players. I have him projected at around 4,150 points. At number 3, I have Giannis. He's had a little bit of a disappointing start in terms of fantasy. He's only at number 5 right now, but I have him at number 3 because we all know what Giannis can do. We saw what he did last year in fantasy. It's mind-boggling. The guy can get points, rebounds, not really assists, but he can get blocks and steals too. 4 of those 5 categories at an all-time great level, and he's pretty damn efficient. So I have him at number 3 and a projected 4,200 points. At number 2, I have Luka Doncic. No surprise, Luka's already at number 2 after week 8. Luka is awesome, man. His shooting percentages have been really bad this season, and the Mavs are doing horrible. But Luka's shooting percentages are going to keep rising. He even said he's underperforming himself, and he's in the MVP race. So I think that's ridiculous. I project him to have 4,300 points by the end of it. I honestly think that his average could go upwards to 55, 56, maybe 57. You never know with this guy. If his shooting percentages go up, it's over for all of fantasy. You can put him at number 1. But who I have at number 1 is Nikola Jokic. No surprise here, really. Jokic is already at number 1, and by a decent margin. He's making it look effortless. Like, Nikola Jokic, he can get you points, rebounds, and assists all at the highest level. And yeah, it really is effortless for this guy. I actually think that if Jamal Murray starts shooting better, it will help Jokic. It'll boost his assist numbers even more. I see him maintaining that 60-point per game ratio. Even if Jamal doesn't get his shot back, I still think he'll be hovering around 58, but I think it's inevitable that Jamal Murray will come back, and I think that obviously will boost Jokic's assist numbers while maintaining his other production metrics. And for those reasons, I have him projected at 4,350 points. Thank you guys so much for watching this far into the video. I wasn't planning on pushing this video this far in terms of time, but I ended up having to in order to justify all of my rankings and to let you guys know why players are at different places on my list. If you guys agree with me or disagree with me, please let me know in the comments respectfully. I'll try to reply to all of you, and at the end of the day, we're just here to have fun. And honestly, I really can't get mad at anyone else's opinions, even if they're different from mine. So yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, as it'll recommend this video to even more people to watch, and it lets me know that you guys like this kind of content. This is my first fantasy basketball related post, so I'd love to see how you guys think about this video, if I should keep doing it. But yeah, guys, this is Smitty, signing off.